But those failures are little things you can stack on top of each other and
Yep.
say, okay, all right, that was wrong. Let's do it now and do it quicker. The beauty of e-commerce is you can do this stuff and pivot so fast and change things for the better. We're back.
We're back. Here we are.
There you are.
Yep. Colorado. Loving it.
Yeah.
Colorado. Having a good time. All righty. Well, one of the things that I can't wait to talk about today is the 5 things we run into with almost every founder we work with these days. Just so common. I mean, most founders just don't fail because they have bad products. Actually, almost every founder we work with has an excellent product. There is a space for every product that we see from our founders, but they fail from the other stuff. And it's not it's not usually an everlasting failure. It's not like they're going away. But they make life harder when they fail in these 5 areas that we're going to talk about today. So let's pull back the curtain and talk about these 5 misses a little bit more and exactly what to do about them so somebody can walk away and get started on reducing those failures in their business.
Yeah, I love this because it is funny. There are just some basics, and the more at bats you have in looking at these companies and working with them, it's incredible that there's so much consistency between the what went wrongs versus what went rights.
Right. Yep.
Jump in.
And their passion for their product, we want to see those businesses succeed. Yeah. So let's start talking about the other things they got to focus on in their business besides that amazing product. So number 1, and this is really something I can't wait to hear what you think, because this is just top of the line here, is chasing growth without protecting your cash reserves.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
Well, it's what gets rewarded. It's the very first thing anybody asks, what are your sales? How fast are you growing? Those 2 things.
Yep.
And so, you start chasing that because that's what you think the world needs. Clearly, growth is good. But when you're doing it at the expense of burning so much cash that you can't sustain the growth, it just doesn't make sense. But the prodding is always from whether it's suppliers, customers, investors, your whole support network is what's growth been like? Let's talk about how fast you're growing. And sometimes it's too late before you realize, shoot, I probably should have dialed this back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I can sustain growth.
We talked to a founder yesterday afternoon where it looked like, she's chasing growth. She's burning through cash. And she could have seen that. And like many of our founders, we've talked about this before. We talked to a founder, initial conversation. Hey, what does your income statement look like? What does your balance sheet look like? Well, I know I have money in the bank. And that is right there. So I know I have money in the bank and my business is growing. Right there is probably someone who's chasing growth and not protecting their cash reserves.
Yeah, she's a good example. It's a great product. Spent a ton of time on research and development of the ideal recipe, the packaging, the branding.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. And then started to have some success in unprofitable channels. And okay, so what does that mean? I'm selling a product for $20 and it's costing me $15 to make the product, $10 to acquire the customer, another $10 to sustain the operations. And you kind of wonder, what is going on here? Is it a misprice? Is it the market doesn't care? Is it, no, never mind. I'm just going to keep growing.
Right.
I'm just going to keep selling more.
Yeah.
And sure, people will keep buying it if you're marketing it the right way. But if you don't have that baseline under control, it's just, you're spinning your wheels.
Something I've seen and I do believe in is it does sometimes take more investment up front to get something going. But it's more of the management of your financials. I think you know better than I do, but when I look at it, I know investment has to come up front. Maybe founders just keep telling themselves that I've just got to invest, that eventually I'm going to. And actually, one of the founders we've talked to on the West Coast said that, right? Like, I just have to keep investing. I have to keep being okay with this kind of negative EBITDA, and eventually my business is going to flip.
Right.
But the cash is burning through this business. So how do you balance between knowing you have to invest in this business, the return comes later, growing your business, and having cash reserves? Do you have any quick tips for our listeners?
Some of it people just don't want to hear, and that is, what are your customers telling you?
Yeah.
Number one, are you talking to your customers? So just get some real time feedback. Do you truly love this product? Uh, am I pricing this right? You'd be shocked if you just sit and talk to your customers and say, hey, put yourself in my shoes. Am I doing this right? What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? What would you change? What's the upper level on the price you'd pay? Am I charging enough? Not enough? What? Just give me some feedback. Out of 10 people that you try that with, you'll get some really interesting dialogue. Number one. The other thing is, what truly are the unit economics of that customer acquisition? And if you truly just call time out and dive into it and understand, what does it cost you to get them? Why are they there? Let's roll everything into that and understand that. Then when someone says, I just need to invest, we can pinpoint, well, here's what you need to invest in because this is actually working. So the supplier costs, the packaging costs, the distribution costs, the technology costs, and you break it down and you say, here are all of my costs that run into this one product. So what do your customers say and what are your unit economics, and just really dial that down.
Yeah, and many founders that I know, I don't know about you, but they don't even know what unit economics is.
Right. And it's a
So,
fancy term. It's like, just break down one product.
right, what are the costs? What are you selling the product for? And what are the expenses of that product? Allocate a little bit of marketing towards that product. Obviously, cost of goods, shipping cost, allocate a little bit of payroll. And where do you land? Positive or negative?
And the higher that gross margin you have, meaning the revenue that you take in, less those cost of goods, that's your gross profit margin.
Right.
And too many businesses they'll say, we've got a 20% gross profit margin, which is amazing. And then you say, but below the gross margin, you still have ad costs, overhead, people, space, any of that stuff that's related to producing or supporting that product. And pretty soon it's like, oh, okay, I'll just sell more.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yep. You're trying to sell more to work your way out of potentially a poor unit economic situation. And that
Right.
never works because unit economics, everything's going up at the same time,
Right.
generally speaking. So, I think we could maybe even tell our founders, specifically our listeners, if you want to have some cash discipline, you need to start with a 13-week rolling cash flow. If you don't have that right now and you need some help doing that, that's where you can reach out to us. Reach
Yeah.
out. We'll help you. We'll help you with unit economics, cash flow, all that kind of stuff. So, number one mistake is chasing growth without protecting cash. That's number one.
Right.
Number two is treating channels as silos. And I know you have experience. I absolutely have experience with that. we are, because of maybe number one, because we're chasing growth.
Right.
To chase growth, we might start in one of these channels, and let's describe those. So sometimes our founders start in the e-commerce channel. They have their own website, they're selling their own product. Sometimes our founders start in sort of marketplace or wholesale type channels. So maybe they've got a relationship with retailers or somewhere in hospitality. So they're not actually selling directly to the consumer. They're selling to these kind of bigger box retailers or hotels, and their product is there. And then there's the obvious marketplace, Amazon, which is usually one of the bigger channels. And what I see is chasing those channels without a strategy,
Right.
essentially. Without a strategy for each of the channels, like a role and intent. And I highly recommend to our founder listeners, sit down and think about what is the purpose of each of these channels. And then start to define how those channels can work together, rather than sometimes what is going to happen is they're going to cannibalize each other if you're not careful. What have you ran into?
Well, I guess I'd flip that a little bit and just ask you, tell me about what you've seen with the cannibalization, because that's something that doesn't get touched on enough. I think the reaction is always, I'm going to be on Amazon. I have my website, and fill in the blank. Walmart, Target, Whole Foods wants our product. Wow,
Yeah.
this is exciting. So walk through, just for someone sitting there with their head kind of just, it's a whipsaw. What do I do? And to think about the potential risks of that.
Yeah. The simple way to explain it is that when you are selling directly to the consumer, you have the most power with your brand. You can control your brand. And not only that, but every consumer you gain is truly an asset.
Yeah.
It's truly an opportunity to earn more revenue. When you are selling your product to Amazon or through big box retail, I treat it like an opportunity for income and brand exposure. But the big downside is you don't own the consumer. So you are not actually you are not building an asset at the end of the day. You are simply earning a buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay, because that could be a great way to feed the direct-to-consumer e-commerce channel, because the direct-to-consumer e-commerce channel sometimes needs that cash to invest in the business, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Totally. The thing you want to be careful of, and I think some of the best businesses do start with that direct-to-consumer, because that is going to build their business more in an asset-based business more quickly.
Yeah.
And we don't count customers as assets today, but they are. They are an asset. There is also a path to starting on Amazon and then moving into direct-to-consumer e-commerce. The cannibalization comes in the product differentiation. I ran into a business that I was working with, an agency I partner with, and they were asking me about a business that moved from Amazon to direct-to-consumer. Same products, same price, slower shipping, lesser guarantees. And they were wondering why they couldn't sell on their brand, their direct consumer e-commerce site. So one of the things is consumers are very savvy, and they can search and see if your products are also on Amazon, and they will.
Right.
So if you don't have a differentiator on your site versus Amazon, they're probably going to shop on Amazon and buy on Amazon. And you're going to earn less by doing it that way. Not to mention, you've just reduced your ability to connect directly with that consumer.
Yeah, you lose control, don't you? It's the direct to consumer is just like, it's face to face. And then Amazon, it's kind of face to face to face. And then wholesale, you're like, I don't have any idea what's going on here.
Yep. Now you're kind of the pond at direct to consumer e-commerce, and they're the ocean. So you do need to consider that as channels to get your brand out there, and then focus on your loyalists, the individuals buying more than once, 2 or 3 times. Get a differentiating strategy on your direct to consumer e-commerce. So once people fall in love with you, they come to your site and they're like, yeah, I'm going to get a lot more by buying from this website versus buying over to Amazon. And that's really sitting down and considering the strategy and all of these things. A lot of times we get into the reactionary mix, and don't, the Amazons and big box retailers of the world, they also want to make money. So a lot of times you're competing with who's going to earn the most gross margin at the end of the day. And a lot of times those big box retailers or Amazon, they want to earn their margin, and they're the bigger fish. They
Yeah.
will earn their margin first.
Right.
So be careful to protect your margin, protect your brand, and protect your customer.
Yeah,
And I
and the reviews, and how many people we've talked to that they were on Amazon for a while, and all of a sudden they got kicked off,
yeah, lack
and
of
it's
control.
like somebody said it was something wrong with the product, and some faceless person decided this doesn't need to be here anymore, and then man, so the risk in getting kicked off or delayed or something, it's just an element of, well, it's a bigger pool and I have a potential to quadruple my sales. I might as well be there. Just understand those underlying risks that most of the time, Amazon is it's a giant laboratory, and they love to just see what's selling here, what isn't selling here. Can we make it ourselves, or should we continue to support the independent retailers? So we're big fans of Amazon done the right way, and make sure that there is an implemented strategy. We're going to do it this way. We're going to then stop. We're going to measure. Let's just make sure we have 2 or 3 key measurements. Is it working or not? And why or why not? Let's see what the momentum is. And then, boy, if it's really starting to work, then pour more resources into it. But how do you advise clients, customers, founders on spreading that? They got a pool of, say, pick a number, $100,000 to invest in marketing. Should they pour it all into one, or split it third?
Well, marketing, they could save their money on marketing, since it really is up to Amazon. And this is funny. I've seen so many brands actually spend money on Google to get a click to their Amazon listing,
Right.
which Amazon's already taken 15% from you, because that should be their job to handle the marketing.
Yeah.
And same thing with big box retail. So, if you're going to save your marketing dollars, but spreading, this is where channel based P&Ls are a real advantage. And that's sort of a high level unit economics just on
Yeah.
a channel level. Because what you want to do at the end of the day is you can push more money into something that's coming out with positive EBITDA.
Yeah.
But you need to know if it's coming out with positive EBITDA. And actually, I should say, in the Amazon world, you are probably going to have to spend some money inside of the Amazon network to be able to get found. I mean, anymore, was there billions of products on Amazon? You've got a lot of competition there. There's a lot of people reaching for that top shelf space, whether it's big box retail or Amazon. So I would treat them like they all have to be profitable on some level in order to feed
Good.
themselves. And so they kind of live on their own budgets. But as far as role and intent and strategy, how do you think about a consumer transitioning from retail and Amazon and working towards your website, and making sure that when those customers come to your website, they're seeing something completely unique,
Yeah.
exclusive, and exciting that they want to be a
Yeah.
part of?
I love that. That the individual income statements by silo to just show the profitability, because one might be carrying the other two.
Yep.
But in the aggregate, you're looking at it saying, oh, well, this is working, but maybe it isn't. Maybe one is actually a drain. and the other one is contributing 2 to 3x what that one is. So yeah, having good record keeping and just being able to make sure you can dial in, am I making money on this channel or this one? The tough decision then becomes, maybe I just shouldn't be in wholesale. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just losing too much control of the product, and I don't know what they're doing on the shelf, where it's being promoted, and by the way, my income statement shows that I'm breaking even. Should I continue to do it or not? It gives you the information that makes it a powerful decision for you.
And any founder I've met has never broken their P&L down. If they even have an income statement, they haven't broken it down by channel. And you've got to do that. You've got to do that immediately. And we have a template for that. Somebody I met a year ago, a founder who's been very successful. She had some problems on the profitability side on direct to consumer, which we had talked about. But one of the other areas was fair, which is a really nice little wholesale market for several of our founders.
Yeah.
And she was getting caught up in being price competitive, which is important. But in order to be price competitive, she ended up having a negative gross margin. We had to get her away from that scenario. She didn't know that until she pulled the channel specific P&Ls, and it showed that fair was negative from the very gross margin line. It didn't really matter what the operating expenses were below it because she was already in the negative. So she changed her pricing, and in the end, that is a tough thing to do because retailers do get really sticky on making sure they make their own margin. But you got to hold the line, because there is no point in going into wholesale unless you can actually make money doing it.
Yeah, good point.
So that's number 2, treating channels as silos. Got to treat them as one business strategy. Number 3, we see, again, we see this with everybody, overestimating marketing and underestimating ops. How many times have we heard someone talk about their ROAS, maybe their CAC, although I bet you tell me all the time that, many founders don't know their customer acquisition costs, but definitely their ROAS, return on ad spend. But when we ask them about their operational measurements, I don't hear anyone talk about that. I don't hear KPIs. They're like, what do you mean by that is usually the question. What do you see?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity is what I see all the time, that there's the ability to develop a scorecard that is meaningful every single day around the operations. It doesn't have to be an Excel spreadsheet of 400 lines. There are typically 2 to 3 key measurements for every company, and they're all unique to every business, but oftentimes, what are we actually investing in? Let's pull the marketing aside and do a bottoms up kind of analysis of your business. What is your targeted free cash flow number as a percentage of sales? And it's not meant to be a gotcha question or anything like that. It's just, what is an ideal profit number for you? All right, 10%. Okay, let's work backwards then. What are your operating expenses as a percentage of revenue to run the business? No idea. Okay, well, then let's look at your gross margin. If your gross margin is 30%, you now have 20% to play with. And what that means is you've got your revenues, take away the cost of goods, you've got a gross profit. And if it's 30% and your target profit is 10%, 30 minus 10 gives you 20% operating expenses to run the business on. Most businesses can't even come close to that, because typically in an e-commerce business, you're spending at least 10 or 15% of your sales on marketing consistently. That leaves you 5% to pay yourself, your employees, overhead, professional, and you kind of go, ooh, okay. Okay, so what is a KPI related to my operating expenses? And you should just have that on a monthly basis just to know, where is this cash going? It's back to your 13-week rolling cash. We had this much come in, we had this much go out. What did we actually spend the money on? That allows you to carve the marketing out and then say, okay, now I know we've got marketing costs and that drove how much in revenue. That's great. You're going to get a ROAS for a meaningful ROAS, but what are my OPEX as a percentage of sales? And it's something everybody should know. You walk down the hall and go, what did we spend last month as a percentage of sales? So that's a KPI.
That is so perfect. Like revenue is 100%.
Yeah.
What is your gross margin? Say your gross margin's 50%.
Yeah.
You want to make 10. Well, you got 40% to play with.
Right.
Are you in that range of 40% or not? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another way I might offer to look at like the operations of the business is to put some KPIs in place. And some of the KPIs I've helped founders put in place. We're living in an Amazon world. Let's be honest. We set very high expectations for the e-commerce industry. We want our packages at our door within 2 days at the most. And I know you ordered from one of our potential founder clients a few weeks ago, and it took forever to get the package, and forever meant 7 days or 10 days or something like that. Wasn't
What's
even
going on?
But the realities are realities.
Yeah.
When I hate to bring this up again, but it's also very important. When I was at Sports Authority, I wanted to measure what the impact was to the customer NPS, the Net Promoter Score, which is basically a customer satisfaction score, what the impact of the operations metrics were. So I measured, I sent some customers their package, made sure they were fulfilled in 24 hours. Their package was fulfilled in 24 hours and that they received it in 2 days. And then another group was just your standard. It could have been fulfilled in 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, depending on when they ordered. And they got their package between 4 and 7 days. The lift on NPS was dramatic. And the NPS connected to more orders from customers. So I knew we'd get more profitability in the long run. And so what I started doing was creating an operations dashboard around these things. How fast are we fulfilling? What are our fulfillment SLAs? What does our packaging look like? Are people satisfied with our packaging? And then there's a number of different other SLAs. What about our shipping carrier, UPS versus FedEx versus USPS?
Right. Yeah.
And I tied all of those back to NPS and revenue and found that there is a real advantage in shipping more quickly and staying on top of that. And having packages that people get excited, right? It's like a gift on your front door. You get excited to get this stuff. And we forget that sometimes as business owners. That customer just bought themselves probably a gift because most of our packages or most of our buys are self buys. So dashboards are really important on the operations side. We see a lot of dashboards on marketing as far as let me track my return on ad spend on Facebook and this, that, and the other. But don't forget about the operations. The operations has just as much impact to the customer satisfaction and the profitability of the business.
No, I like that because you just could have a couple of simple things. Is our 3PL, is our partner actually doing what they said? And how do we know? Because if you can quantify it getting there a day earlier than you thought it was going to get there, and that means X to your Net Promoter Score, everybody knows that then. You have a way to measure success operationally. It's so true, and the packaging, the unboxing, the experience, and all of that is paramount. But if it gets there late, you've lost all that goodwill.
Yep.
And so you spent all that money to get that customer, and then you fumbled getting them what they wanted on time.
Right. And by the way, some of those golden nuggets might be in your customer reviews. So don't forget to use AI, aggregate all your customer reviews, and start looking for some operational opportunities.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So that's a little tip for everybody. All right. So that's overestimating marketing, underestimating ops. That was number 3. Number 4 I hold so dear. I've seen this so many times. Hiring too late or hiring wrong.
Yeah.
When have you seen this?
Well, it goes to when do I hire my first employee or second, and what are they going to be doing? And so how do you? It's like sourcing the product. What are you looking for and why? And what skill set are you looking for and why? And when do you think you're going to need them? Typically, the when was 6 months ago. So we always try and tell them, who's your next key hire? And who would that be, and what void would they be filling? And what skill set or experience do you think they need to have? And have you started that process? Because there's nothing worse than saying, I got to hire 5 people and I needed them a month ago. And okay, here's a warm body. Come in, you're hired. So it's hiring too late and hiring wrong are, I think, both synonymous, because you just make mistakes. And I've done that. I've done that more times than I like to count. But so there's nothing wrong with putting those feelers out to your trusted network. I think I might need a chief marketing officer, and here's why. And you put that to people that you trust. Oftentimes you get a solution that fills in that blank for you. Well, you should look at maybe this agency to help you first. There are part-time CMOs. There are overseas options. But if you truly are looking for someone, and here's 5 candidates that you should talk to, it doesn't mean you have to hire them. It just puts you in a good position through repetition to just interview, understand what you're looking for. And I'm just a believer in telling your network what it is you're doing. Our business is growing profitably. Our operational KPIs are being measured. I now need someone to help leverage my time. And here's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Founders hang on too long to a lot of tasks.
Yeah.
And they don't realize, and actually that's a good reason to bring somebody like us in, because we can help you see real quickly that you are holding the business back because you're inputting on a marketing calendar every single day, or you're, doing these, meaningless not meaningless, these smaller operational tasks that you really shouldn't be doing, nor is that your core competency. Usually the core competency of an e-commerce founder is usually an excellent product developer, a visionary for the brand. And so they've lost the capacity to do that. And once we help them step away from that and say, listen, why don't you think about what would life look like if your business was double this size? Who do you need to be able to support you? What amount of time? Where should you spend your time? And where are you good at spending your time? And then to your point, you don't have to go after full-time personnel anymore. There's so many options. Fractional options for the leadership levels. There's fractional options, and you can test the waters. Hey, what if I just took off 10 hours of my week, just took these things off the plate? There's just too many ways to do that in a fractional capacity without hiring full-time personnel.
Right.
And once they need to be full-time, you'll know, because the amount of work is what will show you that they need to be full-time. And then you can bring them in as, more of a employee who's very loyal to your business, does work for you only, and really becomes a sticky situation. And so hiring, and you're right, hiring too late is just very synonymous with the founders. You're right, wrong and late are exactly in the same space, because when you're hiring late, you get desperate and you don't think about what you really need to hire long term to double your business, and then you hire wrong. So it all comes back to, the founder not waiting too long to think about my business is going to go from A to B. What do I need to get it to go to B, and hire a little early to get the process going, and do it in a risk mitigating way where you're doing some fractional work, or, hiring people on Upwork or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so true. I mean, we grew from 0 to 400 employees in like 4.5 years at when we started Hayneedle. And my guess is today you could do that same business with about 50 people.
Yeah, from all over the world.
You know, times have changed. Times have changed. Access to resources and technology's changed and all of that. And so you can be a lot smarter with your hires, therefore your capital, and just take your time, but understand it now. And I like how you put that. Just say, if you're at $1 million today, let's stress test this. If you're at 5 million next year, what has to happen between now and then? And continually do that. So, okay, enough on that. Number 5.
Absolutely. Number 5, living in vision and starving execution.
Yeah.
Some founders do get there, right? They're always up in the clouds, and they don't know, they're totally starving execution. 100%. Where have you seen that?
Yeah, I think I see it when the ones who we call it get it Microsoft perfect, which means it's about 70% right.
Love that.
Just get it out there, because there are things that the world will tell you about your product. But conversely, like Steve Jobs always said, that the customer doesn't know what they want. It's our job to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you study that and test it and test it and test it, and then like, oh, maybe we tweak this color on the homepage, and maybe we do that. You're just delaying. And the tendency is to do that because if the market tells you you're wrong, you feel like a failure. But those failures are little things you can stack on top of each other and say, okay, all right, that was wrong. Let's do it now and do it quicker. The beauty of e-commerce is you can do this stuff and pivot so fast and change things for the better, and then measure it in real time.
Yep.
I just think that the ones that love to have meetings, they love to go to events, they love to tell their stories,
networking,
and
press.
all the time I'm like, who's working the business when you're at these events? What's going on? I mean, get to work.
Oh, so true. Every founder I know has an awesome vision. Awesome vision, awesome. Usually it's in their head. It's not well written down, but they have a vision, they have a product.
Yeah.
And what I like to help them do is take that vision, which is just imagine a pyramid. It's at the very top of the pyramid. Get down to major three strategic pillars is usually what I like to do. Help work them into that level, and then help work them into annual roadmaps, and then help work them down into quarterly milestones.
Right.
What you're really meeting on a weekly basis is the quarterly milestones, because you already see the connection between the quarterly, the annual, the strategic pillars, and the vision. That's already created. Now you focus on the execution of the quarterly milestones with your team, knowing they're connecting the dots, and you're hitting on those quarterly milestones. If you don't spend enough time on that, we know execution is the name of the game. So many ideas are out there. Ideas don't do anything.
Yep.
Talk doesn't do anything, right? It's execution, it's action. And if you got it connected to your vision, you spend time there and you get things going and rolling, and you'll see the results after that.
Yeah, it's the daily things that lead into that giant vision. The ones who have the vision, here's where we're going to be. We're going to disrupt this market. We're going to be $1 billion this, and life's going to be good. And it's like, okay, how do we get from here down to tomorrow morning?
Yep.
And when you go to sleep at night, were you to the good or to the bad?
Right. Exactly right. So, okay, so let's just summarize these 5 again for our listeners. 1 is chasing growth without protecting cash. 2 is treating channels as silos, direct-to-consumer e-commerce, Amazon or marketplaces, and wholesale. Generally, are those are the 3. Overestimating marketing or over focusing on marketing, and underestimating or under focusing on the operations of the business. 4 is hiring too late or hiring wrong.
Yep.
And we said those are in the same space, really. And 5 is living too much in the vision and not enough in the execution of the business. So, we do help these founders every day on these 5 things. And so if you're thinking, I need some help on those, we'd love to have a chat with you. So just, let us know. We have some templates. We can offer a playbook. There are things we can do before we even, start getting into lack of better words, into bed with you as a client. But we would love to help. So just reach out whenever and subscribe.
Yeah. Subscribe. If this is helpful, we'd love to hear from you and love some comments, anything that you want to share with us. As customers of this podcast, we'd be foolish not to eat our own dog food here. And so it'd be great to hear from you. So anything, we appreciate it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Love it. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Thank you for listening. If you like what you just heard, give us a like and leave a comment so that more people can tune in. Or go subscribe on YouTube. To learn more about Mark and Jennifer, visit DundeeGP.com.